and part of how I see myself is campaigning against campaigning against this type of dystopic society. Those are the things that drive me. And there are intricate weaves of form and content in between those things. But I think that's kind of how I see myself. That's what I want to do. So I'm considering focusing on one particular text now that might, this is just a dissertation idea. And I'm going to say it all aloud here for the first time. So I've got media, and I've got adult education, and I have form and content, and I have different levels. Last January, I downloaded an Audible file, an ebook that blew my mind from day one. And on the trip back and forth to Athens, I think I listened to it probably 8 times over the course of the semester without getting tired of it once. And I was taking program planning theory and design and adult development, and I was deliberately, a few weeks in, trying to apply the perspectives that I was learning about to this particular context. It is a closed context. And the name of the book is Ender's Game. And much like the other 3 trilogies, it's a sci-fi, more like The Matrix, more like Star Wars. Sci-fi has rivets and fantasy has trees. That's from Orson Scott Card, the author, in an interview at the end. But it's much the same in that Earth is at war. It's a time in the distant future. They have birth limitations, children limitations, where you can only have 2. That's worldwide. And we're at war with an alien race called the Buggers. Literally, they have queens, and they're like ants. That sort of faceless clone, like the stormtroopers or the orcs, or the agents Smith or the machines in the Matrix. That they are this mass of uniform, one coming against, and we've defeated them twice, and they get children early when they're 5-6 years old, and they monitor them from the time they're born, and they take select ones to the battle school and begin indoctrinating them and training them. They never know anything else. They never know anything else, and the whole story takes place in Ender's mind. So as this years go by, and he's in this environment, and his training, and what he goes through, and as he's trying to figure everything out, you see the reader or the listener is witness to this struggle in him as he tries to make sense of the world he's in and tries to make sense of the rules and the systems, and they keep changing it on him just a little bit. So he keeps climbing, and he keeps climbing, and he keeps brilliant, I think. So there's that. So I'm thinking about using that as a focus, as a single context from which I can apply, or to which I can apply numerous perspectives and numerous approaches in these classes that I'm taking, in these courses of study. So I can look at the social context in which it's taking place. I can look at how both the book has been designed, because it was, and that's a legitimate perspective. It's not the only one. I can look at the training from a design perspective of what is needed and the result. It's very accessible. It's very accessible. The other is non-human. It's a bugger. It's an ant. The other is non-human, and also it's through the eyes of a child. But the child is very much, and they make the comment through the book, these are not children. These are not children. What we're asking them to do is not childlike. Their behavior is not childlike. They behave like Alexander the Great. They behave like Napoleon, because that's what they're trained to do. It's fascinating. It's accessible on a number of levels. It's available in book form. It's available in audio. It just celebrated its 20th anniversary, and I know a lot of friends that read it. So I'm thinking about using that as my context to apply all these different perspectives to increase my understanding. Now, what can I do with that? So this is not just self-indulgence. What can I do with that to take that to the next step so that that translates to action, to moving forward, to being on the front line? Because those speeches are only given on the front line. That's where that takes place. In production now for the summer of 2013 is Ender's Game. And I listened to the interview with Orson Scott Card at the end of the audiobook, and he has held off making it. He hasn't signed away rights to it for years because Hollywood wanted to turn it into a date movie. They say somebody has it. They figured out how to spin the movie inside Ender's head, and his main companion. They kind of go back and forth with these conversations now to solve that problem, and so that gives us the process of consideration. That gives us the process of reflection. That gives us the process of analysis that we're witness to on the screen. That could be illustrated. That could be illustrated by. That could illustrate, sort of a reflective process. I haven't seen it, so. But this is where I am right now with my thinking. So it's in production for summer of 2013, which means that Christmas 2013 is the DVD release, which means that when I will be doing, hopefully, I'm sort of setting this as a goal, as it is right now, that spring of 2014 I could be doing my dissertation research, when this film is going to be the most widely available to the largest audience with the least expense on Netflix, HBO, video rentals, because after the DVD release it's out there. I don't know if I don't know if that's going to work or not, but interestingly, one of the reasons I consider that is because Orson Scott Card did not release it. He released it a month later than it could have been, so that he would be eligible for the award, the Hugo and Nebula Awards, the next year, and he won both of them. And then the sequel to this won both of those as well. So it is, as the two gentlemen in the forum are discussing, it is quality. It is quality. They're discussing the aesthetic on, I don't remember their names, and they're debating whether you can use common art or if it has to be high art. I would suggest that this sort of thing, Lord of the Rings, Matrix, Star Wars, Fahrenheit 451, 1984, that is the high art of cinema. Cinema as an art, film as an art form. But they address, they're contextually rich and could be used for this reason, for this purpose. So, that's just the idea that you could use. I could have then a written text, an audio version, and a movie. And this is all assuming that the movie is outstanding, which I hope it is. As three forms for a single content and then a single context surrounding that, from which you could teach multiple levels of literacy, from a moderate to you could teach, I think, advanced. You could teach adult education literacy through that, maybe. So I don't know. That's sort of where I am in my thinking. That's where I'd like to go. that's a text that I would like to be involved with, would engage with, and would like to share and would like to use. And these also, the potential for topics, when coupled with the potential for participants, it would be, boy, that would be a treat to experience something like that, and then to help to use that to hopefully help people get out of their own way, perhaps. Uh, so anyway, thank you all for listening. I don't know how long I've gone. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for this opportunity.